Hello everyone and welcome back to Spa here for round 8 of season 30 here in the PlayStation F6 tier. Had some technical issues so far today, which means we have been put a bit on the back foot in the schedule department. However, hopefully we will soon be ready to race, as appears all drivers are in, just waiting for the grid to be finalised. And we'll be loading in to the circuit where the drivers, of course, will have to start on the tyres they were supposed to on the previous start. Hopefully all our technical issues have been fixed now. And hopefully we'll be ready to race shortly, just waiting for something at the moment. We may just be waiting for the grid to be decided at the moment, so hopefully that will all be done very shortly. As it does now seem that we are ready to go once more for a 22 lap race around this great circuit. Hopefully you can all get in to the stream as soon as possible, because of that break to allow this to start working. Gotta love some of the technical issues we've had today. Becoming a disappointing theme, but I'm sure we'll bounce back as always. Drivers just readying up now for round 8 of season 30 here in PSGL. Looks like we're ready to go now, with the drivers on the grid ahead of the formation lap. It is Jonah on the pole position. But can he take his first win of the season here? Or will it be one of the 3 winners already who take yet another victory? Just waiting now as the time ticks down for the start of this race. And finally, looks like we're going to get going properly this time as the drivers take to the formation lap for lap 0 of 22 here. let's have a look at what every driver has done for their tyres. Could be an important part of this race, perhaps going to help a couple drivers out. That restart to the lobby means that some of these drivers will have fresh, the whole field will have fresh tyres. Now, of course, they have to start on the tyre they were supposed to start on in terms of compound. However, in terms of tyre wear, that will not be the case. So every driver will be on 0% tyres at the start of the formation lap. So drivers that perhaps took 2 or maybe 3 laps in qualifying tyres, sort of just making sure they can get up the grid, they will be helped out massively by this restart. So keep an eye out for maybe a more balanced early stage of this race. Not going to see many drivers struggle too much, I don't think. Jonah in the Haas will, of course, be on pole position. Let's have a look at their season so far here. Back at the start of the season, Jonah, no points in round 1. Didn't start at Silverstone. Got 3rd place in round 3 in Monaco. A 2nd place at France. Only got 5 points away from Hungary, and they did not start in Austria. And 8 points were taken home in Saudi Arabia. So a couple of strong results there, a few races to go, but some inconsistent form so far this season, but a pole position will certainly be a good sign for Jonah's chances here today. In terms of tyres, the field is pretty much split, with Trasmike in 11th being the first driver with free choice and the first driver on the medium. So is Van der Brag, Davey, Rafa, Bottle, Chiquito, Michelizzi, Jasak and Charlie Moon, the only driver with free choice who has gone for the soft compound, perhaps going a little conservative there. But as they line up on the grid, it'll be Jonah alongside Sparks on the front row, Milan is chucked behind, then Fruitful, Championship leader kart racer, that's Jake Marsh GP, Yagazan, Mataletto and Lynx will line up in 10th position here for the Belgian Grand Prix. Last few drivers lining up on the grid now, preparing for the race. They'll have got all their tyres and brakes up to the temperature, or at least they will hope they have, for this race start. Very short run into turn 1 here, and then a long run of flat out racing all the way to Les Combes here. The lights are coming on, and we are racing in Belgium. It's a good start from Jonah. Will it be good enough to hold the lead into turn 1? It looks like it is. He holds the inside line there. Sparks looking to try and make something happen on the outside line, but can't quite do anything. Milan looking to do something on the inside, as they're still side by side down the hill as there's some cars off the road in the background. But it's Sparks who charges into the lead, down into Eau Rouge, up into Radion. It's close racing up front. Oh, it's a bit of a slide from Sparks. At the top of the hill is going to allow Jonah a chance back around the outside here as they make their way down the Camel Straight for the first time today. Milan in the mix, trying to make a free wide, is making a free wide. Gonna back out of it though, sensibly so. Oh, but Sparks spins around from the lead of the race. Was there contact there? Sparks drops down the order and will fall to the back of the pack as Jonah retakes the lead here. And looks like there could well be some further incidents at the back of the pack as Rafa has gone around there. And certainly some troubles in the early stages for a few drivers up at the first few corners. But it is Jonah who leads the way here. Milan in second, is Jake in third, holding on to this top 2. Small gap here between first and second. Milan showing some strong pace. Could there potentially have been some contact between either Milan or Jonah in that spin for Sparks? It was a very strange spin, almost reminiscent of what happened to Perez in the Bahrain Grand Prix. It was a big slide. Milan, a big mistake. Oh, is that around? Ishchike has gone around and into the wall. Big damage to the front of the Red Bull there. The front wing has been torn off. Was going to avoid the sliding Milan and has crashed as they made their way onto the back straight. Big mistake there for the driver who won last time out. And there's some drama in the early stages here as Fruitful is now into second place. Kart Racer already into third. Milan losing several positions there because of that mistake. And there's more contact further down the field as Trasmike gets involved here with Chiquito. Charlie Moon is getting a lot of places on those soft tyres early in this race. with Michelizzi. Down there is all big send from Charlie Moon down the inside of the Aston Martin Chiquito. And looks like they're all going to survive so far here, as 4 cars in the pit lane and his Chike already retiring from this race. Big lead for Jonah. Going to Lake On for the second time today. Not going to be as challenged as they were on the first occasion. Fruitful in second, benefited from some of those mistakes. However, crucially, all of those issues that happened on that first lap have allowed a big gap to fall in second, which perhaps could allow Jonah to manage the pace a bit more, not having to worry about the DRS at this stage. Of course, that is the case for everyone, but still, with a 1.6 second gap when DRS is enabled, it will not be available to the second place car unless Fruitful can set some impressive lap times, and I'm sure that'll be what Fruitful is trying to do at the moment. Kart Racer, the smart driver, maybe going to let Fruitful try and push until, of course, he knows that it's not going to be possible to catch to Jonah. Then I'm sure he will strike and try and take that position away. But as long as that gap is sort of under 2 seconds, pit stops could certainly allow that gap to fluctuate and allow some other drivers into the fight. But yes, Kart Racer running third here. Milan down in 4th, lost a couple places with that mistake. But yeah, it's a good catch. Just a shame that it sort of... Ischik saw the slide happen in front of him, thought it was perhaps going to be a bigger mistake than it was, went off track, and just looks like they've lost it over that big curb, as there's been a crash at the back, and it's Sparks. Crucially, it's Sparks who has had a crash at the end of the lap there. Similar place to where Milan had his problems. Let's go on board here with Yagzan. Oh, it's a strange place to go off there. Very, very, very strange. And the AlphaTauri driver is out here. So it's a bad start for Sparks. Of course, a spin and now a crash. Jonah really looking like the only driver who qualified well to be doing well on the race. Seems to be having a clean one as Kart Racer. Will make the move for second place. I said he might be patient. I was wrong. He makes that quickly as his further battles down the pack. Jake Marsh gets past Micheletto up into 5th position for the Williams driver, looking to try and take some more points this season, making his way through the circuit. Top 6 all on the soft, but I think goes to show how much drama we had in the early stages, because the highest medium runner is up into 7th, where then Van der Brugge, Chiquito has got issues further down the order, yellow flags, and that is that Trasmike, and that's another Red Bull without a front wing. That team are having issues early in this race now, as that is big drama for the Red Bull of Trasmike. His teammate's already out, and it's looking like, unless there is a safety car intervention, there'll be no points going the way of Red Bull today. Both drivers facing issues early on here. Crucially, for the battle for the lead, Kart Racer has reeled in Jonah quite significantly, gaining about half a second on this lap so far. Looking strong, looking like they might be able to make some moves later in this race. So this pace can keep up. The gap up front will close down as we've got some more yellow flags. Not quite sure who they're for, as that's a slow-moving Alpine, and it is that Micheletto who's had an issue here. They've lost quite a bit of time. They're up in 6th just a moment ago. Now they're down in 12th place. But back to the battle for the lead. The 1.5 second gap on this lap. Kart Racer has reeled it in. Crucially, broken DRS to Fruitful, which will allow Kart Racer a little bit of security at this stage. Milan in 4th though. Very strong qualifying. Will be looking to get back up the order here. Was of course running 2nd in that sort of battle until that mistake happened. So yeah, that's a tough one for Milan, but still in the fight. And a Fruitful out of the DRS of Kart Racer should be an easier pit for Milan to take. But Kart Racer now continuing to reel in. You can see both of the top 2. That ERS is very, very abused. It's barely anything left for Jonah, and only a small amount left for Kart Racer. It seems like both of these guys pushing hard. However, it does fare well for Kart Racer. There's a bit of a slide there. How much he's catching Jonah, despite the fact that he's using less ERS, should be a good sign for this race. However, Kart Racer, the pace he's putting at the moment, this almost looks unstoppable. Even DRS might not be able to slow down Kart Racer's charge at the moment, as he tries to bounce back from a couple of bad races here. That gap, 1.1 seconds, stays around there for now, but now 1.0. That's dropping again. Will it go below 1 second before we get to the Camel Straight on the next lap? It's so close here. 0.9 tenths of a second here. 8 tenths is the gap. Kart Racer pushing hard. So is Jonah. Both of these drivers using all of their battery. But I fear Jonah knows now it is inevitable that Kart Racer has made that work. He's in the DRS. And after qualifying 6th on lap 4, Kart Racer has already got into position here to potentially take the lead of the race away. 6 tenths is the gap. Fruitful 2 seconds behind this top 2. There's some yellow flags. That's a Ferrari. Lynx has gone around here. And they've kept the car going, perhaps with some damage on the front of that car. It's hard to tell from the camera view it's giving us. But there could well be a battle for the lead here. Jonah just ahead of Kart Racer. Let's go on board with the McLaren driver with the power of DRS. Not going to be close enough this lap, I don't think. Indeed, he will not be. But that gap closing so much with the aid of DRS. Now just 4 tenths. This could be quite the battle on our hands here as we see Fruitful and Milan getting quite close as well. You've got Jake in 5th. Only a little piece of track at the moment with a decent gap ahead and decent gap behind us. Micheluzzi and Taquito swapping positions as they dive into the Lacombe chicane. Seeming like the best place to make overtakes at the moment is that very corner as Lynx now retires in the pit lane. Another driver who just has not enjoyed this race so far, and in the early stages more issues for some drivers. Let's have a look now at how the field has changed since the start of this race. The biggest mover off the start is indeed Micheluzzi, who has gained 9 places off the grid. Big start there for the Alpine driver to get themselves up into the points after qualifying down in 17th place. One of the drivers who's lost, or the driver that has lost out the most is Sparks, going from the front row down to retirement. And a similar thing goes for Istrike. Went from, I believe, 4th or 3rd on the grid and has dropped down to 19th. So both of those drivers who were looking like they were going to be win contenders dropping down the order early in this race here. But I switch back now to the tyres that they have on. This could be a factor later in the race. As the gap between the top 2, 7 tenths, about the same as it was the previous lap. Both of these drivers seem to be conserving their ERS just a tad here in the early stages. As look at that 7-tenth gap. Very similar to the previous lap, so I imagine we'll see a similar thing to the previous lap where neither Kart Racer isn't able to reel in that gap to the leader. But certainly perhaps saving some ERS are these top 2. If we look back from Jonah's onboard, you can see that McLaren looming large in the mirrors. Neither of these drivers really want to push that hard at this stage. They know they've got their own little battle going on here, and Kart Racer doesn't need to make the move soon. You know, there's plenty of racing still to come here. So can just sit back, just make sure he doesn't get any penalties. There's a lot of invalidation in qualifying, and as I say, that Chiquito gets a penalty, so track limits definitely could be an issue in this one, so just got to keep it clean in the top 2, and we've got quite the fight in our hands if Kart Racer can keep this pace up, but does seem to have slowed down a little bit now that he's got to the dirty air, but that may just be he's conserving that a little bit more. As we switch back to him here, he has got quite a bit more ERS than Jonah up ahead, so interesting situation between the two of the race leaders. The roar of the engines in the Ardennes forest, truly magnificent here as Jonah into the bus stop chicane, a 6-tenth gap behind. Kart Racer will have a little bit of DRS on this tiny DRS straight up into La Source, turn 1. See both of these guys running off with their pace a little bit. Pit stops fairly early here. I mean, both tyres are not that. Both tyres wear very little, so it's pretty much free choice of when you pit. It should be an easy one stop to the mediums, but maybe we'll go as long as they can on the softs to get the life out of them. Also cover off any chance of a safety car. The Kart Racer are getting close. We've got yellow flags, and there's been an incident down at turn 1. Or has there? Is it Micheluzzi? I believe it's Micheluzzi who's gone around exit the turn 1. That's a missing end play on the right-hand side of the Alpine driver. And you see them just understeering up the hill. Wow, it was close to the barriers. They won't want that to impact them anymore. But yeah, that's some ground lost for the Alpine. So we've seen Charlie Moon pit. So perhaps we're seeing some drivers who started on the softs pit early in this race, try and make something happen. Let's watch here from Kart Racer's view. Let's look at the Haas ahead of him. Just weaving their way through here. Playing it safe, can't push too hard. Especially on tyres that aren't especially now. It's now the 3rd place car, Fruitful. Gets a 3-second time penalty. That will hurt him. That is not a nice penalty to end up having here. So, fruitful showing that it is quite possible to get a penalty very early in this race. Both of these top two probably they will have seen that. It's will have been on their little radar on the top left. As Jonah comes to the pit and Kart Racer copies him. Both drivers on their way to pit entry now. Will either of these take it a bit harder than the other? Kart Racer didn't look to gain much there, as does anyone stay out? Fruitful. Jake Marsh does on the soft tyres. Davey on the mediums will stay out as well here. Maybe give us an idea of the difference in speed, but everyone else that was pretty much close to each other have indeed pitted. So Jake Marsh, the only soft runner to go this far into the race. Davey, 1.3 seconds behind on the mediums. You'll imagine the medium tyre should be the better tyre now. So this will be, I imagine, Jake's in-lap in this race, unless of course there's unless he's perhaps hoping for a safety car to get himself in the mix, but he's running top 5, so I don't see why he'd risk it from that position. But you never know, if there is a safety car and he takes that risk and it pays off, it could definitely boost his chances here today. But currently leading this race, but yet to make a pit stop. Same goes to all of the drivers in the top 5 at the moment. The battle for the lead of the race has got pretty interesting though, as Jonah has caught some drivers who are yet to pit in this race. Is right up behind Bottle, just had him. He's bottled up behind Bottle at the moment. And that dirty air is going to be killing him through this part of the lap. It's so painful. In these high-speed corners, it's where you need that downforce, and it's where you don't have that downforce when following another car. Kart Racer are just watching at the moment, because for the first time in this battle, Jonah has the sort of aerodynamic situation that Kart Racer has behind, so they're purely balanced, and Jonah, you can see, is getting held up here by the Alfa Romeo, and is losing a lot of ground. This could be Kart Racer's best chance, as Jonah is going to make the move, as we do have a spinner of JSAC, I believe, has had some issues, as they're wheel to wheel, going through Blanchimont. Will he try through here? No. Will they go for the switchback into the bus stop chicane? Kart Racer will be there, watching to try and take advantage of anything that happens here, as they're side by side into the chicane, and it is Jonah taking that position, a little bit of wheel spin. Kart Racer now on the attack, trying to make that move, but looks like they may have to back off a little bit. Will they send into turn 1? It looks like he will. Down the inside into turn 1 goes Kart Racer. Can they get good traction? Looks like they will. And Bottle slots in behind, and Kart Racer loses a little bit of ground as they go up the hill again. Jonah, the one thing, of course, the downside of the dirty air, but gains the DRS, and Chiquito will stay out of the way of Jonah, and Kart Racer following through at the moment. This could be a chance for Kart Racer. Looks like they push just a little bit, but it's not gonna be enough, as it is Jonah holding on to the lead of this race so far here with some impressive driving. The next car up the road will be Jonah's teammate of Van der Brugge, so you'd have to imagine they do catch up to him. If anything, it will be helping Jonah rather than helping Kart Racer that traffic, because, of course, Van der Brugge is, I imagine, going to jump out of the way for his teammate. As JSAC has retired in the pit lane there, another retirement in the pits, only one on-track retirement so far today, as they give up on this race. And Jake Marsh did pit on that last lap whilst we were watching this battle. He is down in 10th place there. Lost quite a bit of ground, so the undercut seems very powerful here. But maybe that fresher tyre will help him out a little bit as well. As Jonah, with the net race lead, but running third on the road at the moment. 4.5 seconds is the gap ahead. Now these guys pitted around lap 7, lap 8. So we imagine you work that and sort of reverse it. The drivers on the mediums will be hitting around lap 14, lap 15, so that'll be the predicted time they'll pit. But of course, tyre wear a bit higher at the start of the race, higher fuel loads, meaning that, of course, you a bit more weight in the car, meaning the wear is higher. So maybe the guys who are starting on the mediums will be on the softs for the finish. Those softs might be able to go a bit longer than the softs did in the first stint, so maybe pitting as early as lap 13, maybe even lap 12 if they're feeling brave, and trying to do a 10 lap stint. That would be a bit of a brave one there. But it is Jonah who continues to hold the net race lead. But Kart Racer, oh so close to the rear wing of the Haas car, just ahead of him. Cheeto yet to pit, just about concede the top two in the distance. But his battle will be with drivers like Bottle. Fruitful also catching up to this traffic now, trying to recover in this race, but with that penalty it's going to be tough for the Ferrari driver to make much happen. See that they're pushing here to try and stay together. Kart Racer would double the ERS of Jonah. Going to make a big difference in this race, potentially at the end. Kart Racer will be saving that a little bit more, but I mean, if Jonah starts saving as well, then Kart Racer almost would be forced into making that overtake. I have to imagine Jonah there. Coming across the line into turn 1 once more, with a 3-second gap ahead. It's going to be maybe always a mistake there from Jonah, was that? Looks like a bit of a slide of the rears. Crucially for Jonah, this could be the lap where we see the lead change for the first time today. Kart Racer just behind the Haas car. Will he make it this time? Surely it's going to be an easy move for the McLaren as Jonah makes a mistake out of turn 1. It's going to cost him the race lead here in Spa. But they're still side by side. Jonah doesn't want to give it up, but sadly is going to have to give this one up here as they dive into Lake Arm. It is Kart Racer who takes over the net race lead. Jonah having to settle for second now. However, it is far from over. We're not even halfway through this Grand Prix just yet. What can Jonah do? Can they respond? Let's go on board with Jonah. How hard are they having to push to try and make this one happen? If they can stay in the DRS, in theory, they've still got just as good a chance of Kart Racer winning this one. However, if Kart Racer can break that DRS, surely that's a sign that it's just not going to be Jonah's day. Yet to get a win this season. Kart Racer has 4 of them, trying to make it 5 here today. Some good corners there from Jonah. Looks like they really hooked that up. Only 5 temps behind. Make that 6. Make that 5. As it keeps changing there. But yeah, not a bad lap here from Jonah. But still, Kart Racer with the ERS advantage could play a key role in this finish. I was saying just earlier that Van der Brugge will be probably going to help their teammate when the leaders finally catch him. Now, at that time, that was Jonah who was leading the race, so I was at least imagining that he'd be waving his teammate by and then maybe trying to hold up Kart Racer just a tad. But this time, if he does get caught before he pits, it'll be Kart Racer who arrives there first, so that could get very spicy if Kart Racer is forced to put an aggressive move on a car that is defending as hard as they can. But here comes Jonah. Will he make the move? Back on Kart Racer. He will indeed. Jonah takes 3rd position away from the McLaren. And that is the net race lead back into the hands of Kwiati Jonah. Great laps there. You could see that they were pushing that a little bit harder. And they've made it work. They've made up for that mistake. Just a lap and a bit to go. Jonah leads the race here in Belgium. Kart Racer once again finds himself attacking and in that dirty air, which he will not be enjoying. And now, just as I'd finished my speech about why Van der Brugge would probably help Jonah by holding up Kart Racer for the lead, it's now swapped again. So we're back to the original situation of probably going to wave by Jonah and then perhaps hold up Kart Racer. So it's a strange one. It keeps switching. Of course, we have the very real possibility that that Van der Brugge just lets them both by, and equally you have the very possibility that made sense. That, well, I think it made sense. It just wasn't very good English. But we have the possibility, of course, that Van der Brugge just isn't really in a teammatey kind of move. There's a big slide again there from Jonah as Davey comes into the pits. But yeah, Van der Brugge potentially here could hold up his teammate as well. If the gap is now under a second, will give DRS to his teammate. That could certainly help Jonah in this race. Will certainly protect him for yet another lap. It's such a exciting overtaking point in this lap. because of just what sets it up. It's such a high-speed corner. It really is who's the bravest when it comes there. Jonah is going to be in the DRS. Look at that. Van der Bregg does pull out of the way for his teammate, but gets back in the way of Kart Racer. Going to do all he can to try and hold up the McLaren. Can he keep in the fight? The old mediums aren't going to work, and it's not enough, as Kart Racer will get past. And the gap is over a second, but we saw early in this race, Kart Racer has the pace to break into that 1 second gap. And at the moment, certainly has the ERS to do it. Whilst Jonah is on 20%, Kart Racer on 43. Jonah will be pushing to try and get that gap back out, but I don't know if it's worth it. With the advantage Kart Racer has at the moment, Jonah just needs to save that ERS, force Kart Racer into pushing a little bit more. But at the same time, the best way of forcing another driver into pushing is by using your ERS. It's a tough situation that Jonah finds himself in. That 9/10 gap as Van der Bregg gets another time penalty here. Struggling in this race just a little bit. And again, Fruitful has caught up just a tad from those issues of the drivers ahead, so gained a bit from that. But again, will have that penalty hanging over him, and it's still 3 second gap realistically to second place in this race. Now the top two are now the legitimate top two. We don't have to speak anymore about this sort of net positions, at least, well, unless we speak out someone further down the order. It is now a legitimate fight for the win here, as Van der Bregg does pull into the pits here. Attempted some teamwork, it worked a little bit, but not quite enough, as Kart Racer continues to run in the DRS of Jonah. And the ERS situation, I imagine, is a little bit better. Didn't quite catch a glimpse of it just before the battle started. But certainly, you'd imagine would be better now for Jonah than it was before it all kicked off at Lecom. 6/10 to the gap, and again, Kart Racer just not really pushing that much down into Lecom. It just, he seems content to be sitting second at the moment, knowing full well that if he wants to push, he can. And he can see Jonah pushing so hard just up ahead. Doesn't need to push that hard. Is content where they are. And doesn't really feel much of an urgency at this stage. Of course, there are still 8 laps left in this race after this one, so it could all change here. We have 15 cars still running here in Spa. More and more drivers starting to pit, especially those that started on the medium tyres. Jonah's really built that gap up quite significantly on this lap. Was there much ERS usage? Not really compared to Kart Racer. So it's been a pretty solid lap here from Jonah to get that up to 7/10. If that was with no ERS usage, that is very impressive. Perhaps we'll give, not necessarily a worry to Kart Racer, but perhaps force Kart Racer to using that little ERS, as you see him does use it there. So Kart Racer perhaps being forced to push that little bit harder here. But it's not the first time this season, of course, that he's battled for a win. Of course, he did have that domination at Silverstone, but of course he has had several races this season where it has been a straight duel for the win. Several times actually, it's been more than a duel, there's been several cars in the fight. Yeah, it's looking like this one's going to be a duel, though, as there's a 2.6 second gap behind a Fruitful. Milan a further 5/10 back. But I imagine in the event of a safety car involvement in this race, these two would be up there and wanting to fight for the win as well. Because they lost the DRS early on, but they haven't lost much more since then. They've very much stayed consistently about 2 point something seconds off the leaders. Milan going to look for the move, but not going to go for it here. Right up to the back of Fruitful. These two battling away for the final spot on the podium. Fruitful off the back of 2 podium finishes, trying to make it 3 in a row. But currently in a podium position with a penalty, and with Milan all over the back of them, probably won't stay that way. Interesting thing of note here is that Davey on the softs has got ahead of Jake on the medium tyres. So earlier in the race it was the other way around. Before the first round of pit stops it was Jake ahead of Davey. But that strategy going on the mediums for the start has helped Davey get up ahead of the Williams driver. So perhaps a sign that the medium to soft strategy is quite a good one here. But now Davey's getting quite held up. Oh, it's around! Goes Bottle, spinning around, and oh, up into the air there as he clatters the barriers. Yeah, Bottle, bad time to make a mistake as he comes interestingly across the track again. Good job ghosting as this, but at the same time as that incident has happened, we had another spin, I believe, for Michelizzi, who's gone around in Sector 2, so... Oh, is that around again? Who's that? Is that Bottle again? It is indeed Bottle. Going around again with hot rear tyres. What was looking like a potential points run for the Alfa Romeo driver. Well, Pardon the pun, but he's bottled it. Let's keep an eye here on the Alfa Romeo. Just see if they've got their tyre temps back under control. It would appear that way, so probably going to be a pit stop incoming for Bottle. But the battle for the lead is still raging on here. Kart Racer, will they go for it on this occasion? No is the answer. Got very close that time as Milan does make the move for third place on Fruitful. Milan making some runners into the pits. Does come Bottle, of course, switching over to the soft tyres. Looks like they're going to stay in this race, though, which is nice to see there. Can Fruitful hang on to the back of Milan here? This could be a tough situation that Fruitful finds themselves in. Doesn't seem like they've got that bad pace, so maybe they can stay within DRS of the Aston Martin, but at the moment Milan, well, big slide there for Fruitful. But yeah, as I was saying, at the moment Milan just looking at a little bit better. Of course, Fruitful, that penalty, perhaps a sign of how much he's being forced to push. But still up front, these top guys still seem to not have many penalties. So that's a yellow flag further back in the pack. And I do not know what that was for. Was it Chiquito who's had a bit of a slide perhaps here? In the Aston Martin, just on the edges of points. Probably going to get themselves into the points at this pace. So that's someone to keep an eye on. Can't afford many mistakes here on some fresh soft tyres. Kart Racer 7 tenths back off the lead on this occasion, with now 6 laps left in this race. 5 laps left after this one. Kart Racer still not looking to be pushing that hard. Let's check the ERS situation. Jonah still sitting steady, but so is Kart Racer. Both of these drivers very similar, as Rafa sets the fast lap of the race on those soft compound tyres. Milan and Fruitful getting pretty close here in the battle for third. But Fruitful not able to make anything happen here. Perhaps staying behind deliberately, knowing that with the penalty, the best chance is to follow Milan, who is putting in some pretty decent lap times here at the moment. Got some swapping of positions further back in the pack here. Rafa has cleared Charlie Moon. Charlie Moon, of course, started on the soft, started last in this race. Running in the points-paying positions, it would be impressive if he can still score some points today. And I believe currently... are they currently on to do that? I mean, they're 10th at the moment, but with a car behind on fresh soft, you'd imagine that Chiquito is going to pass him. However, Yakazan hasn't pitted in a while, and is just up the road, so Yakazan probably going to fall behind this group of cars if he doesn't pit. Even if he doesn't, the pace just doesn't look there at the moment. So Charlie Moon from last to point certainly isn't a bad drive for him. There's a bit of wide, I believe that may have been Chiquito in the background, struggling for grip. A lot of these guys further down the order have a lot of penalties. Oh, Micheletto into the wall, slaps the wall there, and broke the front wing. Oh, and they're going to deliberately crash the car. That could change this race, and it does. Safety car is deployed here in Spa. Micheletto deliberately crashing by the looks of things. Broke their wing. That wasn't deliberate, certainly, but the resulting accident very much did look that way. The one-time podium sitter this season is out of the race, and the safety car is deployed here. Who will pit and who will stay out? You have to imagine these guys up front are going to pit for softs, because Davey, in 5th, is on softs and will have some good pace here. So let's watch closely. What will these leaders do? Yakazan perhaps saved just a little bit by that call, but it has knocked him out of the points anyway. Or has it? It hasn't. Back up into 9th he goes. But yeah, saved a little bit by that. All these guys sort of back to square one on the strategy front. You have to assume the top 4 are going to pit here. Davey does have a decision though. Does he stay out, try and risk it and take the lead, and try and hold that track position? It's certainly possible, but it's certainly not easy either. Jonah cruising under safety car here. Gonna have to return to the pits Shouldn't be any changes in the order except for those that decide to stay out. Of course, the safety car came out at a good time for the leaders. They'd just passed the pit exit, so they were safe on that front. Of course, if the safety car had come out just as they passed the pit entry, they would have been in a much worse situation and potentially knocked down the order. Of course, that's what happened to Milan back in Hungary on the late safety car. And into the pits does go Jonah. What will Kart Racer do? Kart Racer does as well. Milan in third. Also coming in. Then it is Fruitful. Now the question is Davey. Will they pit or will they stay out? Davey pits. Is he going to roll the dice? Jake Marsh also coming to the pits here. Van der Brugge potentially able to take the lead here if he stays out, and he is. Van der Brugge will stay out on the racetrack and gain this track position. The driver, who was perhaps causing some troubles for the leaders early in the race, is going to jump up into third position, maybe higher. Looks like it's going to be third. Indeed, it's 2v1 for the win here. Haas versus Kart Racer by the looks of things here. Van der Brugge caused some issues for Kart Racer early in the race. With a penalty, of course, that isn't going to help him. But 4-lap old soft is going to roll the dice, stay out here, and try and make something happen. Just 3 laps left after this one. Safety car probably won't begin this time, looking at where some of the slower cars are. Michelizzi down quite a way behind, half a lap, if not more, behind the safety car at the moment. So Michelizzi trying to catch back up to the leaders. But yes, basically the entire field on fresh softs, apart from one driver, and that is Van der Brugge, who has rolled the dice and stayed out on his slightly worn soft tyres. It would appear Michelizzi doesn't want this race to end. Well, it doesn't want this race to restart anytime soon as they pit from their fresh softs to a set of fresh softs. I doubt there'll be wing damage on that lap, and indeed there isn't. There's indeed swapping fresh softs to fresh softs. That is, mate, you saved 1 lap. Was that worth it? Maybe, but I mean, you've saved a lap. But now you're going to have to you've lost the time you're in the pits to the safety car, and you're going to have to push that much extra to get to the safety car, which perhaps is going to cause those tyres to be not that much better off. I don't think it works out to a lap better off tyres, because sure, you've gained that lap pressure that you've just done, but let's say it was going to be 2 laps of worn tyres, now it might be 2.5. So yeah, that's an interesting call for Michelizzi, especially with a penalty. Let's have a look at the penalties whilst we're on that subject. Van der Brugge on 6 seconds worth of penalties here. Fruitful on 3 seconds. Then all over the bottom 4 outside of the points on 3-second penalties. So good chance they'll be just battling outside the points, unless of course there is a spin or something that happens further up the field. Maybe that'll mix things up. I mean, if the field stays close enough, then Van der Brugge could well drop outside the points here in this race. I think it'd take a lot to happen. He'd need to be more than 3 seconds behind the car in 11th. Mate, let's try that again. He'll have to be sort of within 3 seconds of the car in 11th, which when he's up in 3rd probably isn't going to be the case. However, on those worn tyres could lose a couple of positions here. But understandably so, looking at it, the 6-second penalty, they're probably going to drop to the back end of the points, if not the back of the points. Maybe even out of them at the end of this race if they had pitted. Staying out here, probably still in the similar situation of going to be back of the points. But now has the chance to help their teammate, which I think that any good teammate will do just that. As we saw earlier in the race, Van der Brugge happy to help their teammate, and looks like they may just do the same thing again here. We could well see it if Jonah times this restart correctly. It could allow Van der Brugge to sort of have a cheeky send up the inside of turn 1 on the restart, which could force Kart Race to lose that ground to the Haas car in the lead of the race. So that could have an effect on this race as well. But it is Jonah who leads the way still in what has been a bit of a manic race here. Should be a safety car in this lap, which would give us 2 green flag laps at the end of it. Jonah looking for their first win of the season. Kart Racer looking for his 5th. A huge amount. That's over 50% of the races. He currently has 50% of the races won this season. Looking to try and make that that tally even bigger here today. Sorry, I think has over 50% of the races, thinking about it actually. 4 out of 7 so far. Could make it 5 out of 8. That'd be a huge number to be putting on, especially when you consider, you know, that in the 2 races, in the 3 races he hasn't won this season. You could put a good case for why that he should have won there. Get to round 1, Portimao. Kart racer was running, well, he got 3rd, despite qualifying way down the field. The safety car is in this lap. Yes, in Portimao, started way down the order, and still got up into 3rd position, so if he'd qualified better there, maybe could have fought for the win. Then, of course, we saw in Austria was in that battle all the way, but then a late penalty cost him a chance at it. And then we go to Saudi Arabia, where a spin at the midpoint of the race cost him a chance. So, whilst, you know, those 3 races aren't sort of easily it was his win, he was certainly in the fight in those races, as he is today here, with Jonah leading the field, getting ready to return to racing. Van der Brugge in 3rd place here. And they're back up to full speed here. Jonah leads them into the final chicane here, diving their way through the bus stop. Turns right and then sharply turns left. Back to green flag racing we go. Jonah will lead them there. Kart racer right behind the Haas car. Will he go for it into turn 1? No, he stays behind. Van der Brugge just too far back to make anything happen on this restart. Jonah doing all he can to try and grow that lead, but it doesn't look like anything he can do. ERS has been balanced out with the safety car, but Kart racer still has the slipstream and is following the Haas of Jonah up Eau Rouge, up through Radion. Now down the Camel Straight they go. No DRS yet in this race, and that will not return. We're too late. Kart racer is going for it to the outside, going into the Lecombe chicane. Gonna swing it around the outside. Not gonna be able to make it work though. Not close enough on this occasion. The outside line just does not work into that corner. They're firing their way down the hill now. Jonah leads this race by quite a nice margin at this stage, only 4 attempts, but given some of the earlier racing, that's a decent gap, as Milan now has a penalty as well. That could well cost him this podium, and it probably will cost him this podium, as he makes the move into P1. What a move there, down the inside, but was there some contact? Could that perhaps stack up the rest of the field here, as we see more and more cars getting involved in this battle? Van der Brugge having to defend from Fruitful. He's going to go to the outside on the fresher soft tyres. Will he have the grip to make this move work? It's going to be very close, but not enough on this occasion. Loses out to Van der Brugge, as Davey is running this battle as well, without a penalty. Is definitely in the fight for a podium, if he can keep it clean to the end now. They are racing their way back towards Blanchimont. Fruitful and Van der Brugge side by side here. That's a small bit of contact, but they're going to keep it nice and clean now, surely. Through Blanchimont. Going to be a bit of a squeeze. Fruitful makes the move though, up ahead of Van der Brugge, and they're racing into the chicane. Fruitful gets up, but small contact once more. Looks like these guys are really pushing hard, as you imagine they would do at this point in the race. Fast lap of the race goes to Jonah, as he looks to try and take his first win of the season. He is in the lead. Kart racer is in 2nd. This is going down to the wire here. Is Kart racer close enough to make anything happen on this final lap of the race? Up Eau Rouge, up Radion. Jonah doing all he can to defend here from Kart racer. Look at the slipstream effect. It just doesn't look strong enough. Kart racer can't do anything. He's not going to use his ERS on this occasion. Perhaps saving it for later in the lap. Perhaps knows somewhere where he can use it better. But Jonah at the moment leading the way here, and doing all they can to try and secure their first win of the season. As Kart racer, the championship leader, is putting the pressure on, doing all he can to take his 5th win of the season. Jonah pulling away though, just looks like he's got the pace at this stage of the race. Very impressive from the Haas driver. Kart racer doing all he can, using his ERS about some unconventional spots, but the ERS is pretty similar between both the top cars. Both drivers very similar on percentage. Kart racer reels in a little bit here. 4 attempts, 5 attempts is the gap. Kart racer pushing on the limit. As long as these two don't get any penalties, this is a straight fight. But look at the run Kart racer's got. It's a massive run as they make their way towards Blanchimont now. Kart racer's having to use all his ERS. He's surely going to run out of deployment here. He's going to make the move into the final chicane. Does he have the power? No. He hits 0 on the battery, but he's going to go to the outside. Is that going to stay on the track? Surely not. He's going to keep it there, but it's Jonah who holds him off at the final corner of the final lap. It is Jonah who wins the Belgian Grand Prix, as Kart racer takes 2nd place, and Davey will finish off the podium after a strong alternative strategy there for the Mercedes driver. What a fight for the lead. Kart Racer gave it all he had in the dying stages, made that daring lunge to the outside, but I think we all knew that just was not going to stick. Jonah made that little manoeuvre work, defended the championship leader, the hardest guy in the field to hold off, but he did it. And Jonah and Haas take their very first win of the season, so of course congratulations to them. A brilliant drive and a thoroughly deserving winner here today. So that was the Belgian Grand Prix here in PSGL F6. Another new winner. That's 4 in the last 4 races. 4 different winners this season. Jonah taking the win. Kart Racer in second from 6th on the grid. Still an impressive drive. Davey gained 10 spots in that race, jumping from 13th all the way up into the podium. A really brilliant drive there for the Mercedes driver. Flew a bit under the radar, but for all the right reasons, gets in a brilliant result at the end. Milan takes 4th there, with Jake Marsh taking 5th. 10 points. Sorry, not 10 points. I think that'll be 5 points, I believe, for Jake Marsh. Forgive me, I don't know the point system off by heart. I should probably check that, really, shouldn't I? But maybe 6 points, actually. Who knows? Let's have a look, shall we? It is indeed 6 points for Jake Marsh there, which puts him up on to 10 points so far this season. So he is the 15th driver to hit double digits in what has been an exciting season so far. Of course, post-race penalties could come into it, but I personally at least didn't see too much wrong with that one. So thank you everyone for watching today's race. Sorry that we had some of the issues after qualifying, but of course, as always, once this race gets going, it always impresses, and that of course happened again today. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, because that was a thrilling race and a thrilling finish today. So yes, make sure that you join us again next week for the Dutch Grand Prix. So that one, Zandvoort, it's a very unique track that will perhaps mix up the order just a tad there, with some very sort of driver specific corners to that layout. So make sure you tune in next week for that one. But of course, don't just tune in for F6 in PlayStation. Tune in for all the tiers, of course, across PSGL. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that great racing action. But that is it for us here in Belgium. And until next week in Zandvoort, it is goodbye.